Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again with another Aemeath video. And while this video isn't really going to be consisting of comparisons to other games or anything like that, it is going to be focused on this character still. And right now, the conversation is going to be a bit of a heavy one. The conversation is going to be a bit of a difficult one, because I think everyone, after seeing the incredible animations and gameplay of this character, I think everyone has determined that she's a must-pull. But right now, in this video, what I'm going to be telling you is all of the problems, or really the potential issues that could come up with her kit that you should be aware of before you decide to pull. Because one thing's very clear, her kit is entirely badass, but she's a Sentinel resonator, or the Sentinel resonator equivalent. You can see over here, there was a bit more juice put into her kit compared to other units in the game. And the only ones that come really close to her in terms of that production level and that production quality is, of course, the most recent Sentinel character that we've had, Cardathea. And one thing that we know about Sentinel resonators from the past experiences on the roster, they tend to have some of the most restrictive kits possible, with some of the most specific teammates possible for them to really reach their full damage potential. And in the case of units like Cardathea, also a very heavy reliance on their signature weapon due to the alternative modes of scaling that are present in her kit. She scales with HP, and that kind of made a lot of existing weapons kind of dog shit on her. So we know at a baseline, right? There's been a bit of a standard set when it comes to Sentinel units. They end up having some of the best animations, the best damage in the game, but they also come with some strings attached to reach that performance. Ever tried using this character without her Sig or without a Chacona, and she's not S3, she's only S0? You're not having that great of a time, right? You ever tried using your good old Jancy without a coordinated attacker on the team? Ever tried that? Yeah, you don't really like doing that because you don't do anything when that's what's happening. So that's going to be the setting of this conversation. Now let's actually get it started, thinking about Aemeath in particular. So one thing about Aemeath that's very clear is that Aemeath is a 3.0 unit. And one of the big things about a 3.0 unit is this whole mechanic over here called tune, rupture, and tune shifting. And so tune, rupture, and tune shifting works in this way. One character is able to inflict either type of debuff, and the character that inflicts the debuff can also respond to it, but there are also characters that can only respond once a teammate has inflicted it. What this means is that if you have three teammates on the team, right, that can respond, right, but nobody that can inflict, well, you never apply these debuffs and you never get these bonuses, right? With spectral analysis from Tune Rupture dealing a burst of damage, right? Tune Break damage, a burst there, while Tune Strain Interfered increases your damage against the target. And you can see where it's doing that over here, right? Based off your Tune Break boost stat, increases the total damage you deal to them, just like all of your damage. So as you can see, not having that ability to inflict means that you won't have that debuff at all. And Lene is the only confirmed character on the roster that can inflict Tune Rupture or Tune Shifting. Mornier, the next upcoming unit. Guys, Mornier cannot. And this character over here, we don't know. We know for certain she's probably going to be able to respond. Every 3.0 unit should be able to respond. But inflict herself, not entirely sure. And if a big part of her damage is accessing, right, these tune bonuses that we have on the side over here, if a big part of Aemeath's damage is accessing this, Lene could potentially be the only way to do it. And so that's one of the conditions, assuming that Aemeath and one of her best teams involves the other 3.0 units. But there is another universe out here, right? There's another circumstance out here. And this is where it's going to get a bit complicated. We just talked about a Sentinel resonator, right? Perhaps needing this specific teammate. But there's also another caveat to Aemeath. She's a fusion character. And when you're a fusion character that looks like a DPS and Lupa exists in this game, then there's always going to be the potential out there that Lupa, with her absolutely insane buffs to fusion damage, right? Her bonuses to attack, her 10% fusion, all of this goodness over here, right? There's potential that Lupa is her best in slot. but we don't actually know, right? Lupa ended up being one of Galbrena's best in slots when she released, even though she ended up getting a different sub DPS later. That's simply due to how strong Lupa's overall buffs are and how many she gives. And if she's the best in slot, guys, well, what do you think's going to occur? She might actually rerun with Aemeath during the 3.1 banner. And if that's the case, well then, boom, you now have another unit you might feel like you need if you want to reach Aemeath's full potential. However, there is another take that's still out there. We've got Chisa, who has been easily the most useless unit in the game since her release in version 2.8. And when 3.0 launched with no negative status units at all to further any of her team compositions, she has had one team composition for the past 80 days. One. It is with Chacona and Cartithia. And in that team, she is like a less than 10% improvement over a completely free-to-play Arrow Rover. So basically what I'm saying is she's a complete waste of pulls. Literally, if you have pulled her, invested in her, and have her on your account and are using her, you have basically just given an interest-free loan to Kuro Games because this unit doesn't do anything right now. And the take from me is that how long is Kuro going to make her useless? And it would probably make a decent bit of sense for Aemeath to have negative status interactions, to have an interaction with Fusion Burst as a Fusion character to actually give this character another fucking use case. That is entirely something that's on the table as well. But this is the thing. We don't know. Because you want to know something about Fusion Burst and negative statuses that's really, really interesting? Negative statuses don't scale with fusion damage percent or attribute damage percent. And so it's going to be something like this. She's either going to work with her where she heavily buffs fusion damage percent, or her where she heavily buffs Fusion Burst, or she's gonna have a 3.0 team, right? Where you focus on tune abilities instead. Do you see how, simply based off of where this character is being released region-wise, her attribute, and of course, her release schedule relative to Chisa, and the fact that Chisa still needs a partner, there's a lot of different ways that this kit can go. But you can probably see how it's really leaning towards potentially needing a specific type of teammate to work really well with. And I've already listed out 3 of the different options. And one thing you probably noticed about all of these options, guys, is that they're a little bit expensive. And it feels like Aemeath, as a character, is probably going to have similar requirements to other Sentinels, where it feels like you really want 1 or maybe even 2 premium partners to really get her going. And I think we really just have to, again, keep in mind all of the different sort of like prerequisites that might already even be in the game, right? Because like I mentioned before, if she really wants an inflictor like Linné, and then Mornier is over here as the support, maybe she really wants these 2 teammates, right? And you're supposed to pull both of them, and you're supposed to pull Aemeath. Or you build a mono fusion team with Mornier as the support, Lupa as the buffer, and then Aemeath as the DPS. Or you just skip both of these units, and you actually want Chisa and a different character. That's the thing. When we're not entirely clear how her kit does damage, it's really hard to figure out right now. But what I will say is that it's basically all written out already. This unit is going to require significant levels of investment in one direction or the other. And the only thing that you can really hope for is that whoever runs alongside her is going to get an appropriate rerun at the right time as well. But that's the thing. We gotta wait until the live stream. We gotta wait until the schedule. And you want to know what the great part about the live stream schedule for 3.1? Mornier's banner will still be live. And so you will be able to make a decision of whether or not you want to pull Mornier or you feel like you'll need her for Aemeath. And when Aemeath's actual kit drops on Twitter, on the official Wuthering Waves website, Mornier will actually still be on banner. So do keep that in mind. You do have a lot of time actually to save and actually make a decision when it comes to this unit. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room over here when it comes to Aemeath. And this is going to be the one that, in my opinion, has the potential to completely shift everything on its head. And that is the type of damage that she's going to deal. And by that, that's actually the wrong term. I don't think the damage type she has matters too much, but her scaling is what matters a lot. Because if she ends up being very similar to a Cartithia situation, I'm going to be real here, guys. This is going to be the most confusing release in the history of Wuthering Waves. Because if you actually take a look at some of the existing Sonata sets in the game, you'll see that they all buff attack. Halo Starry Radiance, Mornier's Sonata set, it buffs attack. Pact of Neon Light Leap, Linnea's Sonata set, that basically is like a better version of Moonlit Clouds, it buffs attack. And so I'm just kind of the mindset, hey, maybe they'll release a 3.1 unit that doesn't want to be used with the 3.0 units and she won't scale off of attack. But this is kind of telling me that she will. I really hope she does, because I feel like it would be kind of like just a nightmare if she didn't, because there's very few ways to increase defense or HP in this game. Let me just say that. There's very few ways to do those. So, hopefully this is confirmation that she can use things like EOG. Hopefully this is confirmation, right? That when it comes to like her weapon, she won't need that sort of like because she is a sword user, right? She won't need like an alternative form of scaling like this, where you can see the weapon gives an HP main stat, or an alternative form of scaling like this one, where you see the weapon gives an ER substat. So hopefully, right, you can just use one of these more vanilla sort of things. But hey, man, I'm looking at this. Hey, maybe there's a possibility she scales off ER, but that'd be stupid. But yeah, you can see over here, there's a lot of different weapon options already available, with EOG being the most consistent one for any sword user. So, yeah, well, hopefully she'll be able to utilize this, and that would make her potentially have a lot more free-to-play value. But we'll just have to see, because Kuro also kind of like, they got us before, bro. They got us with this one, brother. But I don't see how they can do it again. It feels like criminal if they were to do it again. But yeah, that's going to be my little walkthrough. That's going to be my little breakdown when it comes to Aemeath and all of the potential pitfalls that could be in her kit based off of unconfirmed details. Because it's clear, right? This unit, like I said before, is going to be really popular for a lot of people because she's got, undoubtedly, the best animations in the game. Or second best, depending on your preference, but then you'd just be wrong. And I just don't want people getting distracted by the shiny new things and then actually just straight up breaking the next couple months of their account in the process by not investing or saving in the right units to actually make her work. Because do you want to know one of the most painful situations for a player to be in? It's to pull only part of a team and just have that part that you pulled not be usable anywhere else. Think about whoever pulled Chisa without having Cartithia. Actually useless. She doesn't have any team to do anything in. Imagine if you pulled a Cartithia, S0, R0, and no Chikona. She's not doing anything. She's literally not doing anything on your account. Imagine you pulled a Chikona without having any arrow characters. What is she doing? She's buffing nothing. Same with Lupa, without any fusion characters. There's a lot of ways for you to fuck, basically, the next couple months of your account by only pulling part of a team or part of a unit. And then you're just sitting there with like this, like 25% of a team. You can't do anything with it, and again, you basically just gave an interest-free loan to Kuro Games as you take this one unit and then bury them in the ground and do nothing with them until you pull their partner or one of their best partners on a rerun. And do you want to know how many people are going to do exactly what I just said with this unit? A lot. There's going to be a lot of people, because you want to know what a lot of people did when they came to Wuthering Waves during version 2.4, because they were enamored by incredible gameplay reveals of Cartithia. Oh, doesn't this sound kind of similar? A lot of people came to WoWA 2.4 because they saw the Cartithia gameplay. A lot of people will be coming to 3.1 because they see this gameplay, and they'll just be pulling random shit And brother, they're gonna have an Aemeath that's probably fucking useless for the next 3 months. And there's a good chance that can happen to you as well if you pull with like your... I would say pulling Aemeath is like a combo of like pulling with your but then also pulling with like your childhood, right? Because if you see a giant Gundam exploding the ground with a giant fucking sword, you're probably gonna want to pull that. Like the inner like 12-year-old inside you will want to pull that. And then you have the waifu as well on top of it. So it's like really it's like a done deal. There's not... This is called the illusion of choice. This is called the illusion of choice. You probably are pulling her. And so hopefully with this advice, you can pull her with a bit more intelligence. So yeah, that'll be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.